And just as we can configure our workflow approvals and business processes and collaborate using TeamWork around documents and master files, we can do the same around batches. You are able to configure workflow approvals and communication chats via TeamWork for AP batches, AR batches, GL and IC batches. And we're going to demonstrate GL batch approval and AP payment batch approval. For our GL batch approval, the rules we have set is if the source ledger is the GL, so an entered batch in the GL, then any member of the finance group needs to approve other than the person who entered the batch. And we need 2 members of the finance group to approve in any order. If it's not a GL batch, then approval is not required, so all the subledgers get auto-posted. For our workflow rules for our GL journal batch approval, we have configured that for any batches that have the source ledger as GL, that a member of the finance group needs to approve, followed by another member of the finance group. But because we have selected this option, exclude entered by, then even though the person who enters the batch is in the finance group, they will not be able to approve the batch. So having a look at the finance group, we see that Anne, Emma, Natalie and Steve are all members. So I'm going to enter the batch as Anne, and then when I make it ready to post, the members of the finance group will be notified via AC chat. And if Anne attempts to approve the batch, she will get a message that she's not allowed to. But the other members can still collaborate for the GL batch, and then any 2 of the members can approve one after the other. And on the Options tab for the GL batches, we have configured that when we get the final approval, we will auto-post the GL batch. So I'm logged in as Anne, and our workflow is triggered on making the batch ready to post. So in Anne making the batch ready to post, the GL workflow has been triggered, and I am notified that 2 finance users need to approve. So Anne could go to the workflow console and see this GL batch is waiting for a member of the finance group, and Anne is a member of the finance group, and that's why it is on her console, and she should ordinarily be able to go ahead and approve. But a user cannot approve their own workflow because I entered the batch, then I cannot approve it. So logging into the app as Steve, Steve can see he's got a notification about the GL batch approval for batch number 224. And because he's a member of the finance group, he can come ahead and approve. But perhaps he needs more documentation on this particular batch, and so asks Anne for details on the batch before he can approve. So back in the GL batch list, all Sage 300 users who have access to the GL can see the communication that has been going on about batch number 224. First, TeamWork created the chat and sent the chat to the finance group saying it was waiting for 2 approvers from the finance group, and then Steve asked Anne for some additional information. And logged into the chat app as Anne can also see this request, and can use AC Chat to attach her workings and respond to Steve accordingly. Steve now has access to this spreadsheet, which he can review before approving. And because this workflow has been configured with an approval comment, he can add his comment while he's approving the workflow. And we can see now that Steve has approved this batch, and it's gone on to level 2 of approvals, which is also a member of the finance group. And back in stage 300, you have a full record. So TeamWork started the chat. Steve asked Anne for the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet was attached, and you can access it via the notes by clicking here, but also using the document management link. We have downloaded that file for document management link for subsequent access on Sage 300. And then we see Steve approved the batch, and now it's waiting for the second level of approval. So logged into AC Chat as Natalie. Natalie, who is a member of the finance group, can also see the full history of the communication. So Anne requests approval of the batch. Steve asked Anne for the spreadsheet. She has access to the spreadsheet if she needs it. She sees Steve's approved and is okay with it. She could review the spreadsheet and go ahead and approve as well. And the chat is updated, showing that both levels of approval have now been made. And when we refresh the screen, we see that with the second level of approval, it attempted to post the batch. But this is a chat for young players. I do need to create the financial year first. And for any of the workflows, a full history is kept of each approval and each step. So looking at our GL batch number 24, we can look at the detail log, and we can see initially the workflow was started by Anne, and it was assigned to the finance group. And then Anne tried to approve, but it still stayed in the status of waiting for the finance group because Anne tried to approve her own batch, and you cannot approve the workflow that you started. And then Steve approved the batch and made a comment. And finally, Natalie approved a batch and also had her comment.